You told an interviewer that you have learned to, in your words, love the thing that I most wish had not happened.
I remember.
You went on to say, "What punishments of God are not gifts?" Do you really believe that?
Yes. It's a gift to exist. It's a gift to exist. And with existence comes suffering. There's no escaping that. And I guess I'm either a Catholic or a Buddhist when I say those things, because I've heard those from both traditions. But I didn't learn it that I was grateful for the thing I most wish hadn't happened, is that I realized it. Mm. Is that, and it's an oddly guilty feeling.
It doesn't mean you are happy.
I don't want it to have happened. I want it to not have happened.
Right.
But if you are grateful for your life, which I think is a positive thing to do, yeah. Not everybody is, right. And I'm not always, but it's the most positive thing to do, then you have to be grateful for all of it. You can't pick and choose what you're grateful for. And then, so what do you get from loss? You get awareness of other people's loss.
Well, that's true. Empathy.
Which allows you to connect with that other person, right. Which allows you to love more deeply and to understand what it's like to be a human being, if it's true that all humans suffer. Right. And however imperfectly, acknowledge their suffering and to connect with them and to love them in a deep way that not only accepts that all of us suffer, but also then makes you grateful for the fact that you have suffered, so that you can know that about other people. And that's what I mean. It's about the fullness of your humanity. Mm-hmm. What's the point of being here and being human if you can't be the most human you can be? I'm not saying best, because you're going to be a bad person and a most human. I want to be the most human I can be. Mm-hmm. And that involves acknowledging and ultimately being grateful for the things that I wish didn't happen, because they gave me a gift.
Yeah, death is maybe the ultimate grief and the ultimate tragedy, because it has that finality to it. You don't just say the word death and people right away shudder. Death sounds like the end. Someone died, they're gone, story's over. And I don't know how these pieces interact with each other, but I'll just refer to something I spoke about. But when you understand that reality is a bigger picture than just what you see, then you really come to realize death is not the end. Death is just the end of one stage. It would be the equivalent of saying, I take a piece of wood, I put it into a fireplace, and then the wood dies. Yes, the wood will no longer be wood, but it's turned into energy. It's turned into fire. It's turned into warmth, into light that continues to live on, just in a different form. You take water and liquid and you boil it, it turns into gas. You freeze it, it turns into ice. So you see there are many forms of the same reality. I used to always be frustrated, very difficult when people say, where did the soul of my mother, my father, my child go upon death? You know, you don't really have words. But then, I don't know, one day I had an epiphany, and it's somewhat a little funny and humorous analogy, but it works. And I said, imagine a dialogue, a conversation between a refrigerator and electricity. And the refrigerator says to the electricity, where do you go when they pull the plug? And the electricity responds like with incredulousness and says, what kind of nerve, what kind of chutzpah do you have to ask me that question? You're a little box they just invented 100, 200 years ago. You figured out how to generate and contain me, the electricity, to refrigerate food, and now you think you're the center of the universe. You ask me where I go? I've always been here. I've been here long before you ever existed, and I'll be here long after you die, because I don't occupy the space of your little box. That your little box can only see what you can see. I go back to my place, which is outside of time and space as you know it. Everyone who hears that, even people, they say, of course. I said, that's what we need to discover, that the soul lives in a very different type of domain. We're just not soul people, we're body people. So we judge everything by, I don't see it, it's not here. But that's not true. In this room right now, even if all the people left this room, it's not an inanimate room. It's pulsating and brimming with all kinds of energy. We know that today. There's no such thing as something that's dead. The word dead is not even an accurate word. Now, I'm not taking away from the tragedy of that stage ending because I want to be able to embrace my loved one. Yes, I understand their soul lives on, and it's consoling to hear. But I want them on my terms. I want to be able to hold them. I want to be able to talk to that person. I want to be able to kiss that person. So I'm not dismissing the tragedy is that it's not in our domain, but no one ever should say, and no one should ever think that a soul dies. Souls never die because they weren't born. They were here before, and they just occupy a vehicle called the body for a certain period of time, and they continue their journey. And it's very consoling. And the fact is that, yes, the soul of your son Jacob, whatever time that as he developed in the womb of his mother, lives on somewhere, hopefully through you as well. And the same is with every soul. So again, I've experienced the death of my father, so I am aware of the pain. It didn't even though I'm fully aware of the soul, I still cried. Because there's still that element that it's not on my physical plane, that it's on a spiritual plane. And we're not spirits, we are spirits within bodies. But the more you connect spiritually, the more you'll connect to the soul of the loved one. And in that sense, that never ends. Soul never dies. And the more soulful you can be on this earth, the more you connected, and the less the finality of it is there. You realize there's much more to the picture. You have to listen. The only way, what they say, the only way out is through. You can't avoid it. Once something has happened that is a tragic event, a loss, a death, or anything that is a setback, some people numb themselves. You just self-medicate, and you numb yourself, you distract yourself. But that doesn't mean the pain's not there. It just means you're not feeling it. It's like someone that kills their nerves. So it's not going to last. So the fact is, there's really no way out. It's like, I'll cry. Like one great scholar or teacher told a student who had a tragedy, he said, I don't have answers for you, but I can cry with you. Tears are very cathartic. They're very healing. There's nothing wrong to feeling that I'm not okay. It's fine. Some people just need to know that. They think, if I'm weak or vulnerable or I'm hurt or I'm crying, something's wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. That's exactly what is natural. That when a person suffers, cry. And you don't need answers. And find people that will hold your hand. And if you're a person who's supporting someone who's gone through that, hold their hand, be there for them. You don't need to give answers. You don't need philosophies. You don't need explanations. I always say this, the greatest mind cannot speak to a bleeding heart. So it's not you're going to find some type of brilliant concept or brilliant philosophy that's going to explain away a tragedy. Tragedy is just too strong, too powerful for the mind to fathom, let's be honest. The mind cannot deal with it. So you have to go deeper than the mind. And the place that's deeper than the mind is love, faith, hope, meaning, and purpose. And that's what you hold on to for your dear life. And you just forge ahead. And some days are going to be harder, and some will be easier. I'm not going to mince words. I'm not going to say we all know it's not a party. Sometimes it's very painful. But remember, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And if you can move from one day to the next, you get stronger, whether you know it or not. And ultimately, what will emerge is a new person. A person that you'll see that you went through the fire and you become a more powerful person in the process. I also say, always speak to others who've been there. So you're not alone. Loneliness is a very big problem here because when you suffer, you think that nobody can understand me. Nobody wants to be around a person who's in pain. They'll never get me. Having others that have been there and the empathy that they can bring to the table is a tremendous healing agent. Absolutely. Never underestimate that. Again, we go back, what pain does, it throws you out of your regular comfort zone. So all the tools that you had yesterday are not working. And that makes you feel desperate. Everything I was using, I thought I was in control of my life. And if I wasn't in control, I was able to do this, and I was able to buy this, and I was able to go to this one, And then suddenly you're left completely helpless and completely vulnerable, naked. And all those resources didn't work. And that is very demoralizing. So the answer is find deeper resources, and they're there. Now you need to dig deeper. There's really no option.